Welcome to today's Energy Central Power session entitled Installing ACCC Conductor, Field-Proven Techniques and Insights. Now over to the moderator of today's event, Mike Beeler. Mike, welcome to the event. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, PJ. It's a pleasure to be here. Welcome, everybody. We're going to talk about ACCC Conductor. It's a composite core conductor. And why is that important to the industry today? Because a mega trend in the industry is more ampacity through existing rights of way. And we need it now, and we need it fast. We have massive growth going on in the industry, and ACCC Conductor is one of the immediate solutions to help us get more ampacity out of existing rights of way. So really pleased today to have a group of linemen to talk about their installation experience with ACCC Conductor. And I'm going to introduce each one of them just briefly. We're going to allow them to go through a slide deck and talk about their experience. We want to keep this conversational amongst the panelists, and then we'll get to the end and we have some questions that we're going to ask them, and then we'll wrap up with some concluding remarks. So we're going to start off with Calvin Kirkwood. Calvin is from ATCO Electric up in beautiful Calgary, Canada. Calvin, just give us a quick word of greeting, if you would, please.
Yeah, morning, everybody. Calvin Kirkwood. I'm a construction supervisor with ACCO, and I appreciate the opportunity to be involved in this. Thanks.
And we're thrilled to have you here, Calvin. Thank you very much. Next is Timothy Stevenson. Timothy is a master installer and a contractor and has a lot of experience with CTC. So, Timothy, good morning to you.
Good morning. I'm a master installer with CTC. I have the opportunity to be deployed from different locations, different projects. It's a pleasure to be on the call.
Thank you, Timothy. Next up is Dustin Berg. Dustin, give us a brief good morning and hello, if you would, please, from sunny Southern California.
Yeah, morning, Dustin Berg, Metro West Transmission foreman. Yeah, same as everybody. Appreciate you inviting me on here to talk about my experiences, and looking forward to some good discussions.
Likewise. Thanks a lot, Dustin. Ricky Hayes, you have assembled this astute team of men, and give us a quick reading and then get prepared to lead us off, if you would, please. Ricky Hayes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rick Hayes. I'm the North American manager, oversee all field operations for CTC Global and ACCC operations. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, Ricky, you have got some slides prepared for us, so why don't you lead off and tell us a little bit about CTC Global, if you would, please, and then introduce each of these men, and let's have a conversation about experience in installing ACCC Conductor.
Absolutely. As I said, thanks everyone for showing up here today. Let's start off at the beginning. CTC has been around about 20 plus years in the carbon core industry. We got projects spanning the entire globe, and that's multiple regions from the UK, Europe, South America, Africa, Asia. We have projects going on in India, and as you know, here in North America. There's probably about 180,000 kilometers of conductor up in the air. Forgive me if I know we're using kilometers here in the U.S., but it's a global company, so we kind of have to use the kilometer nomenclature here. And this is a new, I wouldn't say new and upcoming technology, but I would say that it's the future for line work here in the country, and we all should be prepared for it. Next slide. So I get this question a lot. Why do we want to use ACCC Conductor or carbon core conductor? The number one reason is higher capacity. All of us that are in the line trade, whether you're an engineer, whether you're a lineman, any part of that machine, you know that our grid right now is woefully overloaded. And so by increasing the ampacity that we can put on the line by using carbon core conductor, we kind of are able to help our grid a little bit more. Obviously, this assists with our line loss issues by using ACCC. We don't have the big issue that normally kind of plagues the industry in terms of transmitting power over long distances. And then there's a reduced cost to using ACCC versus using standard ACSR, ACSS. And then the reliability and strength, contrary to belief, ACCC is incredibly strong. I'd put it up against any conductor in the industry today. So You don't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah, Rick, I think we've done a good job. I think we've done a good job as an industry in talking about the benefits of composite core conductor and how you have the same, you couldn't virtually have the same cross-sectional area of the conductor. Therefore, you're not changing the structures, the capability of the structures, but you're getting more ampacity through that wire, and it doesn't have as much sag, obviously. So I think we've talked about that. The beauty of what we're going to talk about today, Rick, is going to be experiencing and actually installing this conductor and what linemen are actually running into in the field. So we're excited for this conversation.
I think when it comes to just the grid, it isn't so much about just putting up the same size wire. Because the wire is already lighter, right? You can actually put a larger wire up at the same weight, thereby increasing your capacity even more and kind of future-proofing yourself for what's to come in terms of load. You know, with all these data centers going up, with you know, the heavy demand and our expansion in cities. So that is one of the main things and one of the main benefits of having the ACCC conductor.
Excellent point.
Can I get the next slide? All right, so today, everyone, we're going to go over just some basics. We'll talk about the tools used for installing ACCC. I'm going to let you know nothing changes. All the tools that you use currently in the field will be the same tools you use when you're using ACCC. When it goes to the handling, you know, coming up high on tension, again, no changes. All of this follows the same rules and regulations that we've had since, you know, the inception of line work. So as it comes to transmission, there are no big changes, but we just want to make sure we cover them so that everybody's on the same page. And then proper technique. I just want to be clear on this. And, you know, I believe Dustin, you can chime in on this. This is exactly the same as installing ACSR in terms of the rules, right? The techniques are exactly the same.
Yeah. Everything's the same. You know, like somebody even said earlier, even the dead end termination is even quicker once the guys get the hang of stuff. So I'm a full advocate for this wire in the air, in my AOR at least.
Right on, and I think Calvin. I mean, Calvin's got probably the most unique area that he installed this in. Calvin, there's no changes in your technique up there in frigid Canada, is there?
Nope, nothing's really changed at all. All the equipment's the same, all the setup's the same. It's pretty straightforward, really.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, guys. So I don't want anybody to think that you're changing anything up from what your crews currently do, right? There's really not a learning curve here. You can get next slide. All right, so this is probably the best part, and I'll get some help from Timothy on this. So early on in the process, the number one thing that we like to do is we like to get involved, right? We like to get involved in how you're designing, how you're setting up your pool plans with your line. So we have our engineering team who are willing and able to help you out on any part of our facets of the project. And then our master installers, Timothy Stevenson and his crews will go out there and they will verify to make sure that all the hardware on site is the hardware that you need for that particular size conductor. They'll make sure that, you know, you have the right size sheaves. They'll help you out with presses. They'll assist with doing anything with your particular hardware manufacturer, whether it's PLP, whether it's ASL, DMC, or anybody like that. And then there's a classroom training period. Timothy, what have you seen in the classroom trainings? Have you seen any issues out there? Are the crews really just receptible to learning about ACCC?
No, I haven't had any issues. The guys have been really receptive of the information. Like you said, it's pretty simple. The rules and regulations are the same. We just make sure that the guys have a successful installation.
And ultimately, that's our goal, right? To make sure that everyone has a successful installation. We're not here I'm not here to tell you how to do line work. That's not my job. We don't want to change the way you guys are actually installing or how your crews operate. All we're there to do is to make sure that your installation goes right, by assisting you. If there's any questions that come up That's the benefit of our master installers. They're right there on site with you, or they're accessible by phone to immediately give you answers and direction if anything comes up. Next slide. Now, we do provide all the documentation you need. I know I get asked this quite a bit. A contractor, a GF will call me up, a foreman, an engineering team, an OE will say, hey, do you know exactly what we need to install this? Do you know what size press we need? Do you know what size tensioners? Do you know what size rollers? We take that very, very close to heart, and we send out a list that actually tells you every single manufacturer in the country that makes every single tool that you could use on this installation, right? We don't choose and pick which ones that you should use. We give you a list of everyone that makes that particular tool, so you can use any one of these, right? They all work. And we send that list out to you so you guys can make sure that you're prepared long in advance of the job. So you're not working at the last minute to try to figure out if you have the things you need or if you have the right rollers you need. If there's a change, if you want to use a particular piece of equipment that is new to the industry that we haven't seen yet, you can document or let us know, and we'll tell you if it works with ACCC Conductor. That we've seen that happen on jobs all across North America. We've even seen it globally. And that aspect of assisting people and saying, hey, there's a new roller out. Do you think we could use this out here? We'll take a look at it and say, yeah, it's good. Or we'll tell you, say, we have concerns about this particular piece of instrument or tooling. So we are very, very receptive and very helpful in that facet. Next slide. Now, as I said, the tooling is exactly the same. If you look on the screen here, you're looking at what we have. The only difference you'll see is that there is no inner body to press on the ACCC, right? But all the other tools are the same. We use the same press. We use the same dies. We use a cable cutter. We use either a hacksaw or a blade to cut through the conductor. You measure the same. We use pentotrops, a file. Everything is exactly the same. The only thing that you'll see change is because there's no inner body to press, we use two 15-inch crescents to tighten on our collet and housing system, which is akin to a Chinese finger trap. And with that being part of your installation, you'll see that the installation is much faster than your ACSR counterparts. Dustin, your team in SCE, how do you think they felt about not having to press on an inner body?
With anything new and how they set this wire up to be sensitive, I think guys were transmission. We're used to slam, bang, boom, hit it, if it doesn't fit, hit it in type deal. And I think the course that you gave us prior to the project helped calm a little bit of nerves because, you guys gave us an idea of what needed to be done and how this needed to be handled. So I think there was, a little bit of adversity when it comes to dealing with it the first time, but once you did it a couple times, it was just the same as Acer. So, but it, like you said, it skips a step on having to press that core, which ends up saving time, which makes the dead end termination even easier than Acer.
And what? One of the things that I've noticed out there is the question comes, what size dies you use? And when we only give them one set of dies, the question always comes up, well, where's the other set, right? And and it's just like that with the SCE crews using that collet and housing, right? They were like, this is all we have to do. I think I remember that training. They were like, okay, all I got to do is put 85 pounds on this and we're good to go.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All those questions are had. So, but like I said, with anything new, guys are making sure, they do it the correct way. And then we in Metro West, we preach craftsmanship like crazy. So, it was just getting a couple new tools and then preaching how important it is to get the right tension on the tightening. And then after that, it was fine.
Outstanding. Can we get the next slide?
Hey, Rick, this is Mike. Is it fair to ask, how did the engineers at Southern Cal Edison introduce this to these linemen? Did they just come out and say, hey, we got this new conductor that we want to use, and we'd like you to try it, and here's a master installer from CTC Global, and they're going to give you a crash course on it? How was that introduced to the linemen from a company perspective?
You know, that's pretty interesting. I'll let Dustin answer that, because his super at the time is the one who set up the training. How was that brought to you guys' attention, Dustin?
You know, we'd heard about it. We've heard about this wiring. Not necessarily the most positive stuff, but we were still willing to take it on, and we knew we had the capacity to do it the correct way. So I think there was it was explained to us. It's just the same. It's basically explained to us that it was just the same as Acer. You got to do a few more things just to make sure you don't mess something up. But other than that, it's the same. It's the same wire that we're taking out that we're putting in, basically. So that's how it was kind of sold to us. Once we dove into it a little bit more, then we figured out what all the little nuances are of this different wire. But after that, I think the other individual that works up in Canada, he can attest to this, that it's the exact same as Acer, but it just has more benefits with the weight of it. So that's how it was presented to us, that this is just the same.
And Calvin, I think you were there in the training in Calgary, right? When you, how was this introduced to you guys that you were going to be using ACCC up there?
I think it came from a capacity conversation within the engineering groups, because the project that it's being used on here it spans actually two different utilities, ours, ATCO, and Altalinks. And so it was discussed about the capacity requirements and brought forward that this might be an option, and then they decided to go forward with it. That decision was made relatively early on, I guess, enough time for us to make sure that, you know, we had all that information in our hands when we went to the market to have our contractor onboarded for this project. So they knew what they were coming into, and they knew that they would, you know, need some training and look forward to using it. So
they didn't just so it wasn't just a sudden, hey, by the way, you're using new conductor today. You guys knew in advance that this was the possibility, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so typically we rarely find that a crew shows up on site not knowing that they're going to be using the new conductor. Does that answer your question, Mike? I'm pretty sure that.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Actually, I appreciate that.
On the screen, what you guys can see now, this is a typical dead-end body. The only change you see in this dead-end body is there's a collet and housing, right? Still has the same steel line, you know, taking the place of a pressed inner body. You have the inner sleeve, you have the outer body, the actual dead-end body, whether you want to call it, you know, the shotgun or whatnot. And then you have the collet and housing there. Now, the collet and housing, as I said, think of a Chinese finger trap, right? It goes inside the cork, goes inside the collet that is surrounded by the housing, and once you screw in the steel eye, it puts a tension, compressing that collet on, and now it's locking that core into place. This is done by hand and with two 15-inch crescents, and two able-bodied men applying 85 pounds of pressure on it, locks that thing into place, and then at that point you're good to go to slide on your inner and outer body and commence the pressing. So really, really simple installation. Again, taught around the world with no issues. Timothy, have you found guys having any issue with the collet and housing procedure?
No, actually, some utility companies even require them to use the 85-foot torque wrench, but usually 2 15 wrenches, guys have no problems with it at all.
There's not like a learning curve in that, right? It's just they put it on once they've felt that tension a few times, they're just flying through it.
Oh, definitely. Even I have apprentices out here working on projects, putting on bugs as well, which you may not go over that, but they see the simplicity of it. And I've seen guys just rocking and rolling, knocking it out.
And that's our goal, right? To make this as seamless as possible. And, just that note, we put it on the slide, but this is a fact. Over 1 million dead ends and splices globally, 0 failures. So you're never going to run into a situation where you install this properly and it's just going to fall out of the sky, right? There are 0 failures on our collet housing. So we're very proud. We take pride in that. Next slide.
Can I add something there, Ricky?
Yeah, absolutely.
So just, I guess, something that I noted, like we have our AZR conductors, so we've got our AZR sleeve that we have to install underneath the conductor or between the conductor and the core. So it's like an extra step. It doesn't take any really that much longer. But one thing that I did like about the dead ends that we have is the way that we press them out. We press from conductor end towards eyelet end, and one of the things I hated about some of our other high capacity conductors is you always ended up with bird caging at the end of the wire. It's not something that we have an issue here with. Like the dead ends work flawlessly out here for us. So it's something just to note.
And that comes, like as you said, Calvin, from our back pressing, right? Pressing, especially with some of the newer conductor, and I know some of the other softer conductor that's out there. When you start pressing down a line towards that grip, like you said, you get that bird caging, and with the ACCC to avoid that, we press towards the structure. So, that's a good point. And I know a lot of guys, when I tell them that they back press, they go, "What? Like, are you serious?" Like, yeah, you press the other way. Now, when it comes to stringing and pulling, there aren't any differences than what you guys are used to, right? Lowering your wire bolt, you pay out reel the same way. As Timothy stated, installing a pulling bug, which is just a smaller version of the collet housing. It just attaches to underneath the stock when you're doing your pull, right? It just holds the core so that the aluminum and the core move together seamlessly during the pull. You read your tensioners, same exact way, right? Left hand lay, right hand lay, nothing has changed there. You monitor your pulling tension, your speed, and then, there are some special considerations for long spans, right? You can pull up to 3 reels back to back to back with ACCC, no problem whatsoever. Obviously, a lot of people like to pull in new conductor with old conductor, which is totally allowed with ACCC. Whether you're pulling in rope or pulling in hard line, any special considerations you can think of, we've probably done with ACCC. Even so much so as even pulling in by hand with just a bunch of guys pulling the rope up a hill, pulling the conductor in. I know it sounds weird, but I've seen it happen. So there are some special considerations to think of, but that doesn't change the way you're installing it. You're still going to install it just like any other transmission conductor out there. Next slide. So, as Calvin spoke on, the bird caging, that's probably always been a concern with sack wire or trapezoidal wire. We do our best to avoid that, right? And our master installers teach that in our class, methods of avoiding bird caging, how to make sure it doesn't happen, right? Make sure you're using the correct sagging hardware, right? And using Chicago grips versus using bulldogs or pork chops to pull in for your sag. If you have to sag it in a very short period of time, this is a repair of some kind, and you had to get it up then and there, right? How to drop the temperature down, 5 degrees Celsius, and then install it and sag it that same day, right? Which does happen. And then obviously the proper equipment, right? That we're out there using the correct snatch blocks. We're using the correct slings. We're verifying that the people are using the correct rollers and they have the correct size press. all of that is the same as anything we've done before. Our master stalls are there just to make sure that your crew is aware of it and that they have the correct things on site. The last thing we want to have is someone using something just to get by as opposed to the correct tool, and then you run into a failure of some kind. So that's our biggest, I would say our biggest concern on the project is making sure you guys are using the correct tools and equipment. Next slide. Sagging methods are still the same, right? You can shoot it with a transit, you can dyno it, you can stopwatch it. You know, if some of you are still doing that, I remember doing that years and years ago. Or you can shoot it if with a target if that's what you're looking for. I don't remember. Dustin, did you guys do dynos? Right, you guys were dynos, I'm pretty sure.
No, we had somebody shooting it the whole time. We had one of our employees that worked for Edison. They were shooting it for us.
Yeah, okay. So you guys had some out there transit, and Calvin, you too? Were you guys shooting that long line out there you guys have?
Yeah, correct. Using survey.
Using survey. So, I mean, I know both of you have two completely different type of installations actually going on right now. I know Dustin, I'm sure you'll speak to it later. You were right in the middle smack of LA, right, with the freeways and the crossings. And I think Calvin, you're in the middle of the province, right? And it's just going on for miles and miles and miles. I do know I think we're using the dyno today on a project in Utah, and I think they were shooting it somewhere in Texas, if I'm not mistaken. So any of these sagging methods are perfectly acceptable. You don't have to change up whatever method your team is using, right? They're all acceptable at ACCC. Next slide. And then here comes the fun part, the dead end and clipping. All right, so when you install dead ends and auxiliary hardware, during the class, our team will go over that with you. So at the very beginning, master installers like Timothy will go over dead ends. Timothy, you want to touch on that? You do both hands-on and classroom training on the dead ending and splicing, right?
Yes, we'll do classroom and we'll also do hands-on. Sometimes the hardware manufacturers are there as well. So
there's no miscommunication, right?
I'm sorry, say that again.
I said there's no miscommunication, right, on how to do the dead ends, right? And guys actually get an opportunity to play with them before they actually go in the air.
Yes, which is very helpful, so they can get those hands-on experience before they actually go in the air. And if there's any things that come up that's questions or concerns, we're able to address it then before we actually go in the air.
And you said the hardware manufacturer comes out. I'm pretty sure PLP came out for you, right, Calvin?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, they came out on site for the initial kickoff. We did a bunch of work with our contractor, the master installer, and PLP to get everybody on board with the hardware that was being used.
Perfect. So everybody is going to be basically trained before they even get on the job at that point, right? So I don't think there was anybody who got on the job and said, I don't know what I'm doing at that point, right?
Correct.
No, everything worked really well.
And then as it comes to clipping in and spacer carts, so there are you get this question a lot when it comes to carbon core, right? Can you put spacer carts on the line? The answer is yes. Spacer carts all day, every day. We have guys out here that we do a bundle conductor, we do we do triple bundle, we do quad. Never had an issue with spacer carts on the line. When you go out there, if guys are questioning putting the spacer carts online, we even have info core conductor, which we'll get into a little bit later, which ensures those guys that when they get on the line, there's nothing wrong with it, right? So yes, you can go on there and put spacers on. You can put IPS spacers on there if you want to. with no concern or issues. And then all that's done, and then you do the final inspection and commissioning or energizing. So if there are any questions on that, feel free to ask, but there's never been an issue with ACCC putting spacer carts or putting auxiliary hardware on the line. Next slide. And as you know, IEEE, this is universal around the world. We follow the same rules there, right? To the proper handling of tails and dead ends, to the way we rig up and the way we handle the material. Reason this is important is because all of us at some point develop bad habits, right? Complacency. I'm pretty sure that I'm not the only one who can say that I have, I've been complacent at some time in my career, out there doing stuff that just felt easier to me, but wasn't actually the right way to do it. So one thing that we emphasize is we try to break those bad habits and do things the way that they're supposed to do and the way they're taught. So, I'll definitely ask Dustin that, because I believe at SCE they're real big on breaking complacency and paying attention to those little finite things. Dustin, did you guys had no issue whatsoever, right, in following the standard transmission practices?
Yeah, not at all. And the presentation that you guys gave us, really did help to know what we can, what we can't do. Emphasized on, you can't treat this like steel, even though it's tough as steel. So once we got it down to just the technique to clipping in and all that stuff, once we got it down, in order to clip stuff in with shear tension and all that stuff, it was fine. So yeah, we went. And then also too, from a performance standpoint, you got to remind these guys on a regular, not necessarily every day, but you got to remind them how important craftsmanship is. And so, but yeah, we didn't have any issues at all.
And that's the whole purpose, right? Being a craftsman, leaving the product better than what you saw when you got there. So we really hamper that, right? Going back to the basics of following the rules, handling the material properly, breaking those habits. And our master installers are typically there to let them know, say, hey guys, these are the rules. We should be following them. But again, we're not going to tell you how to do line work, right? That's not our place. Next slide. And then here are just some images of installations around the world. You'll see one of those images, I think, was in negative 32, negative 36. I'm gonna ask Calvin that. I mean, I know they were out there working in that insane weather out there.
Yeah, we ran into some cold days, probably a little bit below that once you get the wind chill and everything involved in that calculation.
Oh yeah, and did you guys have any issues following the same practices in that weather?
No, nothing really changes. Same rules, same procedures. Yeah, just keep things rolling the way it's always rolled. So we had no issues with installing the wire one bit.
And Timothy, and you've been around the world, right? So you've done installations across the globe. Did you see any issues? I think you're in Europe, right? With them following the same best practices and IEEE standards?
No, had no issues at all. Even though there was a language barrier, the process is so simple. Was able to just show the guys, explain to them with hands-on, and just show them the simplicity of it. So there was no issues at all, even in the language barrier, whether I was in the States or globally.
Appreciate that. Next slide. And here you'll see that our field service report here in the U.S. is very comprehensive, right? From the very beginning, where you can ask us any engineering questions, to the actual conductor installation. We have master installers all across the globe. We will always come out free to give you a classroom instruction on how to install it. There'll never be a cost to you in that. And as I said, we'll cover all the tooling and the equipment there before the job and when we show up. And then you have an option for on-site service where you have the master installer and our operator who does InfoCore testing. They're on site with you the whole time. And while they're there, again, you can ask them questions. There's real-time guidance on it. And then let's say you run into an issue and you have a troubleshooting situation, you can ask them right then and there, as opposed to stopping the job and having to shut down for any period of time. So our field services is second to none. And I believe that we have a great team here in North America to help you have a successful installation.
Hey, Rick, when you have the on-site services come out, do you find that if the utility asks for that one time or the first time or the second time, once they have had the services there on site, do they gain enough confidence to say, okay, we're just going to go do this?
Oh, absolutely. We get that all the time. Once they've had a master installer out once or twice, I typically get calls after that to say, hey, we just got some new crew members. Do you mind coming just doing the class? Right? We don't need you on the on site. We have some utilities who've been doing ACCC so much and so often that they're doing jobs constantly, right? And they'll just contact us if they run into an issue. They'll just call us on the phone and say, hey, we're doing this. We're seeing this, 30-degree angle. What size rollers do you think we need? But yeah, there comes a time when the crews become so proficient that they don't need us, right? And that's our goal, right? Our goal is to make them so comfortable that they don't need us. And that's all we're here to do. Next slide. Timothy, I'll let you speak for a moment to what you do as a master installer. Like, what exactly do you do?
Yeah, so for me, it's very simple, just to really give you guys the guidelines, to give the crews the different guidelines, to share with them how to use this, handling. One of the things that I like to do is share with people. I give the analogy of having children. I actually have the privilege of having 4 kids. And I remember when I had my first baby, like Dustin had mentioned, you're nervous. And so after having that first child, those bugs are worked out to where you're like, oh, okay, I can do this, I can do that. And just as Dustin was mentioning, it's about being able to have the techniques, the craftsmanship. As linemen, we take a lot of pride in our work. And so for me, it's just really being able to be a service to the crew members, to the foreman, and everybody that's on the project. Actually have the privilege of having direct contact with our engineers to where if there's any concerns or problems that we may come up with on the project in the field, we're able to reach out to them right away, which has been very helpful. I know when I was working over there in the Netherlands, working with the Ukrainian crew, their engineers came up to me, approached me, shared with me some of the things that they were concerned with. I was able to reach back home, get in contact with our engineers, and we were able to resolve the problem. So that's really basically what we do, is be able to provide the best service that we can as master installers.
And how do you think the crew feels having you on site? Are they apprehensive to have you there, or are they're happy you're around?
Initially they're a little nervous just due to the fact that we're the eyes on the ground for the company, for the utilities, for CTC, and once we let them know and assure them that we're not there to cause any issues as far as getting anybody in trouble, we're just basically there to support. They love us. I was just on a job not too long ago, and I had to go to another project, and the crew was like, "Where are you going? Like, when are you coming back?" So they've been very receptive to having us on the project. So it's actually been real good.
And I'll attest to that. Yeah, in the beginning, it's kind of, you don't know why they're there, what are they doing, but then by the end of the project, they're the master installers, especially if you work with them for an entire project, they're like family. So they're in part of our tailboards, they're inputting at tailboards, they're that little crutch you can lean on if you have any questions. and stuff like that. So I think having the master installers on site is definitely beneficial.
And I think, Calvin, you have an operator on site, right?
Yeah, we've got one of your operators out on site hanging out with our crews throughout the whole stringing process, just because we've got InfoCore. So the services are required to do the testing and help out the crews, which is great because it just means, we can expedite that whole process. It's a bit of a slow process in some senses, but it's an assurance that our conductor's in good shape once we leave it.
Right. And that's the beautiful thing about it, right? To ensure that you installed it correctly, and then when you leave, there's no question from the installer or from the utility's point of view. Next slide. I think we'll get into InfoCore. Yeah, so the InfoCore system. All right, so the InfoCore system is a system that CTC developed that allows you to test the integrity of the carbon core itself. So the question always comes up, is the carbon core safe? Is it broken? Like, how do you know? This is what InfoCore is for. InfoCore allows you to know that at the time of installation, upon the time of delivery, the time of after the pull, even in some instances, as in Dustin's instance, you can test the integrity of the core after you terminate it, after your dead ends, after you've done spacers. So it's a peace of mind that they provide by utilizing the InfoCore system. And if you move to the next slide, I'll just tell you exactly how it works in terms of when and where to use InfoCore. So
Rick, is that something that the engineer or the standards team specifies, that when you install this conductor, you will provide InfoCore, or you will commission the conductor to verify that it's in good shape? Is that part of something that the owner specifies, or is that a service that you guys provide?
The owner specifies if they want it done or not. The owner will let us know if they want to test it. It's not required, right? InfoCore is not required to be used. You have the option because the core will come with it, but you have to let us know if you want it to be tested. Sometimes you get crews that are so proficient, it's like, we don't need to test it. And then you have newer crews or serious heavy infrastructure projects that, as in Dustin's case, go over critical infrastructure. I believe they crossed 2 freeways, if I'm not mistaken, a railroad crossing. They were going over homes and businesses. So obviously the utility was vested in ensuring that the core that went in the air had no issues and defects, right? And the utility specified that they wanted to test it, and they had a testing schedule, right? They wanted to test upon delivery, while it was on the wire boat, after you pulled it in, and then after they dead ended, right? So they had steps in the process in case they had to identify that there was damage done to the conductor at any point. They can say, okay, between the pull and the dead end, that's where it happened, right? Or it was delivered and had issues, right? Or it was transported from the laydown yard to the right of way. And that's on the owner to make that decision on when and where they want to test it. Whereas Calvin, right, on Calvin's project, you're doing delivery, wire boat, and pull. Is that correct, Calvin?
Yeah, that's correct.
Right, so they only have 3, where I believe Dustin had 4 or 5, and some utilities do 1, right? They just want to make sure they received it correctly. But essentially the way it works is you have 2 ends of the conductor. You prep one side, the carbon core on one side, utilize some tools to polish that core to expose the fiber optic. They attach a transmitter and receiver on one end and the other end. If the conductor's in the air, we teach the line hands how to do it, how to attach it in the air. And if it's on the ground or on the other side, on the hard side or soft side, one of our team can do it. Then they run a test. That test is operated via a tablet on the ground, typically near where the receiver is. And then once those results come in, those are stored in the cloud. They're typically shared through a report to the utility, to the installer, to the EPC or construction management team, and they'll let us know, right? We'll give them the results of the test and say, hey, your core is fine. We can confirm that it is good, or we'll give them, a result to say, you know what, this is an inconclusive result. There may be an issue in there, and then they'll make a decision whether they want to change out that section or if they're comfortable where that, but that's the difference, right? It going over the 5 freeway and it sitting, in the middle of a province is a big difference in whether you want to address that issue. Next slide. I'll turn this over to Dustin and kind of let him go over his recent experience with ACCC.
Yeah, and I apologize. Found some technical difficulties, so I haven't been able to see any of the slides. Just a quick rundown on my experience. Been for 15 years. Our first experience with the ACCC was last year and a little bit of the year before. We ended up running 5 miles of 220 bundled. Had some minor setbacks with ACCC, a lot of learning curves. But like you said, guys like Timothy and guys like Ricky were always there at the drop of a hat to help us out when we ever had any questions or any concerns or any issues. So the support from CTC was spot on. So my crew, since we went and did that whole project successfully, we were called out to some gunshot wires within Bakersfield. My crew and myself had the ability to get their hands on a little bit different. Ricky, that wasn't InfoCore in Bakersfield, correct?
No, it wasn't InfoCore.
Okay, yeah. So we got a chance, and got a chance to get our hands on the soft drawn aluminum, which I think my crew prefers the hard drawn. Just my personal opinion. But like Ricky said, did a lot of stringing over major railroads, major freeways, 60 crossings, you name it. We had a lot of humps to get over to get this project complete last year, and we did it with flying colors, and that was due to a lot from CTC's support and their training. Their training to get us a little bit of experience on this before we got our hands on it. So looking forward to doing more. I know my management has little talks here and there stating how important this wire is and where we're going to be putting it up. So looking forward to getting my hands on it as much as I can.
Do you think guys have any concern pulling that conductor? I mean, I'm pretty sure. I know you guys didn't even shut down the freeway, right? I know normally we shut down the freeway. You guys pulled directly over the freeway. You just netted it up, right, and just kept pulled. Did you guys have any concerns pulling the ACCC?
No, I mean, like you said in the beginning, and you guys, I think what your guys' training does is you front load how important this wire is to treat it the right way and stuff like that. So, I mean, there was a lot of concerns. I mean, Metro West, as far as the metros go, no transmission crew had taken on that big of a challenge. So I think there'd be even if we weren't dealing with ACCC, there would have been a lot of concerns. So adding new wire into our system definitely was a concern. But like I said, getting over the humps and the support that you guys gave us definitely gave us the confidence to take on the project, and then and we ended up finishing with flying colors. So there was a lot of concerns, but we worked through them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I appreciate that, Dustin. Thanks for sharing your experience out there with ACCC. You guys did a lot of InfoCore. How did you feel about the testing? I know we did a bunch of testing.
Yeah, then that's that moment to where, especially the last one before you plug the dead end, that's your little, all right, hopefully we did everything correct. So, if the guys didn't polish it the right way, and then You know, it may be 4 lights, but it's a faint 4th light. So, you know, your gut kind of drops. But I think the guys with anything in this trade, the more they did it, the better they got at polishing. The more, you know, the more they paid attention to it. So the testing was good. And then, like you said, I think it was somebody who said earlier, you know, knowing that, okay, at that last test, you know, you can go home at the end of the night, and you know that that wire's not going to fall on the freeway. It's going to fall on another 60 line. It's not going to fall over the train tracks. So having them there to test it, had that peace of mind, not only for a foreman that's actually, you know, running the work, but for management to know, you know. So it gives everybody a peace of mind to have the testers out there.
That's awesome. Thanks, Dustin. Next slide. Now I'll let Calvin kind of comment on his project out there in Alberta.
Thanks, Ricky. Yeah, so I've been a lineman for 17 plus years in the trade. One of my very first experiences with ACCC Conductor was actually the Lower Rio Grande project, where the transmission system down there was reconductored. A 345 kV transmission line was reconductored with ACCC. That seems like a million years ago now, but yeah, that was kind of my first introduction. That was a long time ago now, so no InfoCore at the time, and I don't think we had any issues with that conductor at that time. Fast forward to 2024, we kicked off the Central East Transfer Out project for ATCO, and it's, I think, just north of 1,000 kilometers worth of wire being put in the air. The whole project is 85 kilometers in length. It's a double circuit monopole project with 2-bundle conductor. And we've had a few small hiccups here and there, but again, kind of back to what Dustin was saying, you know, the support from not only CTC, but all of the suppliers of the material, the hardware suppliers. Like, we worked as a group to solve our problems, get over the small little humps, and it's gone really, really well. We're currently, we finished half the project in the summer of 2025 this year, and we're back to work. We just actually strung our first section into our season 2 area, and yeah, like, it took us, I think, 3 days by the time the heli flew to pull in all 6 phases. So it's fast. Like, the guys, same thing, hesitant at the start, not sure how much they have to baby the wire, and then they realize, I think, relatively quickly that you work with it the same way you work with any wire. As long as you're handling it with care, like you should anything, it's easy wire to work with, and it goes up fast, like really fast. So I honestly don't have much to say that's bad. Like, it's gone really, really well, and I wasn't too concerned after my experience from the Lower Rio Grande project.
Yeah, I'm following that project. I'm seeing how quickly they're moving. They're moving really fast. Yeah,
like it's honestly, I think, about 10 days a setting, right? And we're stringing just shy of maybe about 5K of line length per setting. So it's going fast. And then, I mean, the project has spanned, we've been doing some stringing across all of the weather fronts, right? Like, we started last year in September, working our way into winter, getting into the -40, even colder with the wind chill. The Stettler area and this whole, like, kind of mid-east section of Alberta gets a lot of wind. There's a lot of wind farms out here. So, you know, we've had a lot of wind to deal with as well. And then all the way up to the summer of this year, we were in plus 30 degrees doing the same thing, stringing, and no concerns, no issues.
Yeah, that's an amazing project. I think it's 700 kilometers of conductor is going in the air, something like that. Because I think it's 11 like 1150 altogether, right? And if you guys have the large side of it, it's about 700 kilometers of conductor itself is in the air. So, I mean, you guys are just making it look easy, right?
So far, so good. Yeah.
Right. Don't look forward to that winter though. You know, I'll leave that to you guys.
Don't worry.
Yeah, not going to happen. Next slide. And I turn it back over to you, Mike.
Yeah, Rick, you put together a great team here. It's really interesting to listen to. We're at the top of the hour, but we have a couple of questions that we want to ask, so we're going to spill over a little bit. And Timothy, I'm going to come to you first. So we just heard from Dustin talking about Southern California. We heard from Calvin talking about ATCO Electric and some of the cool things they're doing. Can you just tell us, you've worked all over the world. Now, are there differences? And I think you talked about this a little bit, but just tell us again, what kind of differences do you see around the world in when a crew is installing ACCC Conductor in different parts of the world? You talked about a language barrier, but there really wasn't a language barrier. What did you see relative to your experience?
Well, in my experience, usually when I go on these projects, what I see, the only difference I see is just how each crew installs their conductor. But as far as handling the ACCC, there's no difference. As far as the hardware, there's no difference. Even like I said, with the language barrier, the simplicity of using ACCC and our hardware is so simple. It doesn't take rocket science to figure this out. We're not here to change people on how they do what they do. Literally, I had a crew, they were going up in bucket trucks where I had people climbing up poles still. So that's the only difference that I see, is just each crew does their job the way they want to do their job.
Okay, Dustin, I'm going to ask you something about ACSR and ACSS relative to ACCC. If somebody's encountering ACCC Conductor for the first time, how is it different for them, let's say a young lineman, relative to like ACSR or ACSS?
I just think it's the treatment of the wire more than anything. You know, just that's the only difference, is just making sure that we front load individuals with, you know, a young lineman or something like that, with how important it is to follow the rules and stuff like that. Not that we break any rules when it comes to ACER at all, but I'm just saying, I think just front loading it, and that's what I keep coming back to CTC, letting them know that, you know, the training that you do beforehand, letting them know how important it is to treat this a little bit better than you would, you know, because we're used to, you know, maybe not on the 220 level, but on the sub transmission level, you pull an ACER, now you're getting it caught off to a shoe, you're putting it in the shoe, you're banging it, you got hammers on it, you got everything on it to make sure the line lays straight before you tighten the shoe. So I think it's just letting them know that how important it is to not do that and view this wire a little bit. I don't want to say delicate, because it's not delicate. I mean, me and the other foreman, we took a piece of it and twisted it and bent it and hit it on stuff and did whatever we could do just to see if we could get another 4-light test, and sure enough, we got another 4-light test. So, so yeah, that's I think, getting back to your question though, as far as the new lineman, is just front loading it with how important it is to follow the rules and how important it is. And I know I sound like a broken record, but it's what I preach on my crew, is just craftsmanship is the most important thing. So that's all I can really say about that.
That's a good message to preach, craftsmanship. I like that. So it sounds like Edison wants to use more of this ACCC Conductor on other projects in the future. So you're anticipating that your crew, are there other regions around Edison that maybe haven't used this yet? And would you share, what kind of stories would you share with your other crews around different regions at Edison?
Yeah, you hear that there's pushback from certain management. You know, I can't say for sure who's saying what. but you are hearing other grids are saying, you don't want to touch it. We've heard bad things, bad stuff. But every time I speak to either, another grid's management or another grid's foreman or anything like that, it's just, I basically tell them it's the same thing. Like, there's nothing to be afraid of. And then also too, in the back of my head, I know that this is the future. So you can avoid it as long as you can, but eventually you're going to have to get to it. So I think, but the more and more we string it in our AOR, because of the fact that our management's convinced that we can do this successfully, I think now that'll probably get rolling, and other grids will kind of fall in, maybe with a little bit of our help, going like we did in Bakersfield, going over and showing another grid that this can be done safely and done correctly. I think it's just it's gonna be a snowball effect after that.
Yeah, I definitely think this is the future. Calvin, I'm going to come to you with a similar question. How quickly did your crews become what you would call proficient with the use of ACCC Conductor relative, again, to ACSR or ACSS? Was the learning curve about the same for ACCC, again, with the help from CTC Global, or how do you feel about that?
I mean, it's kind of hard to judge because ACSS, ACSR have been in circulation for a very, very long time.
Yeah, good point.
I will say that, like, the crews that are out here doing this work picked it up extremely fast. It was a bit of a slow start, just seeing how it works, how easily it is to move around, tying it in, playing with it, I guess. But I'd say once we got 2 settings done, they were rolling just like they would roll on any other type of wire. There was no real slow up on that front.
Yeah. Rick, I'm going to come to you with a question too. So if you look ahead, how do you see the installation practices of ACCC Conductor evolving as the use of it becomes more widespread across the industry, not only here in America, but around the world? Do you see any evolution in installation practices coming in the future?
Yeah, because the equipment is starting to change. We were approached just recently about an overarm roller for transmission, right? Because there's a lot of combo 6 poles out there that are getting changed out. So it was something that I had never seen before, right? And then the practices, I would say, are changing because I think we're starting to get more integrated across the globe in how people do line work, kind of like Timothy was mentioning. Like back pulling is it's a really big thing in overseas, right? Doing dead ends on the ground, something that I had never seen before. Right? I've just never done it. And whether in my distro days or even on my transmission days, that was just not something we did. And they do that specifically over there, right? And then the evolution of seeing them kind of adopt some of the things we're doing and doing dead ends in the air, and then here in the U.S., guys running into issues and learning that, oh, that's an option. I can do it that way. I can drop it to the dirt and do a dead end and pull it up. The evolution of installing, whether it's ACCC or any other carbon core, is constantly changing. And we're sharing that, right? Our master installers go on site, and that's one of the beautiful things of having master installers who are so well-traveled. When the crews run into issues, they're like, hey, by the way, I've seen a crew do this in this certain condition. Maybe you can try that. And the crew tries it and says, oh, man, I never thought of that. Like, that's a great way to overcome this obstacle. So, yeah, I do see it evolving and changing.
Good. Timothy, let's say you're going to a utility for the first time ever, and they've never used composite core conductor at all. What are the first things that you say to them when you get on site and start to earn their trust and their confidence? What are the very first things that you do when you get there?
One of the things I like to a favorite quote of mine is, the greatest amongst you is a servant. And so my job is just basically let them know that I'm there to serve them and to be able to assist them as much as possible. If they have any questions, please feel free to ask. If I don't know the answer, I have the resources to where we can get those answers to you. So for me, it's just really just giving them that assurance and letting them know that I'm there to support them.
Yeah,
and I'll jump in real quick. I'll jump in real quick. I've worked with Timothy on multiple projects, and the way he approaches crews and how he shares information is he can relate to the guys on the crew. At least Metro West, at least SCE. We built a great relationship with him, and the way he approaches it is very very subtle, but you still know that he's there to help.
That's high praise. Thanks for sharing that. I'm going to come to Calvin and Dustin with this last question, and then I think we'll probably wrap up. But if you could give, Calvin, if you could give one piece of advice to a utility that was starting to use ACCC Conductor for the first time, what would it be? One piece of advice to a fellow lineman that at a utility that had never used composite core conductor before.
I think honestly, just reach out to CTC and start having conversations with them. Getting to see, I think me personally, I didn't get to go, but we managed to get some ATCO people out to their facility to take a look at what they're doing and how they're, leading, I guess, this big change in conductor technology is a great way to get some perspective on what they're trying to accomplish here, and then just talking with their team and the vast amount of experience they've amassed installing it all over the place can help to put your mind at ease.
Yeah, Dustin, what would be your thoughts? First time use by a utility, what would you give them as advice?
And we're all afraid of change, right? Because the last thing we want to do is take on a huge project and then have it blow up in your face. So my whole thing would be, my advice to anybody who's never done this before and is going to take on a project like this is to just not be afraid of it. Just follow the rules that that you've been given, and then approach it just like any other wire stringing project, because that's what it is. It's a wire stringing project. Now the wire's a little bit different, but there's no reason to be afraid of this new conductor. So that'd be the only thing I'd say.
Yeah, it's a new conductor. It's an exciting thing to see in the industry when new products and services are introduced to the industry and you're on the forefront of it. I remember being in my early career when non-ceramic insulators came out for the first time, and we had to evaluate what is a non-ceramic insulator? What is this hydrophobic polymer insulator? It was brand new, and there was an evolution as it developed, and here we are today, and it's commonplace. Okay, so let's go back. We'll wrap up. We'll give each of you gentlemen a chance to give some concluding remarks. Calvin, we're going to start with you, but tell us, just give us a wrap up and a conclusion, and we really appreciate you from ATCO Electric coming in today, but give us a concluding remark, if you would, Calvin.
Yeah, I just appreciate the chance to, I guess, be a part of this and provide my feedback. I'm definitely available if anybody would like to chat further and talk about things, but it's been a good experience so far, and I hope that we'll see it be used in our system more in the future. So much appreciated. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Calvin. I think we will see it used more. Timothy Stevenson, you're a master installer at CTC Global and worked all over the world. Give us some concluding remarks, if you would, please.
Yeah, anytime there's a shift, it requires a new level of leadership and a new level of commitment. And I'm just thankful to be a part of ACCC and CTC. And it's been a pleasure for me to actually share my insight and perspective alongside with my fellow panelists.
You did a nice job too, and I'm looking forward to that book that you're going to write about raising 4 children. Dustin Berg, you're out in God's country out there in sunny Southern California. Challenging area to build with a massive population and the diversity of your service territory. Give us some concluding remarks, if you would, please.
I wouldn't say this is God's territory. I might have a different perspective on Southern California, but that's a whole nother meeting. No, I'm looking forward. I've told Ricky, I've told multiple people this. I'm looking forward to getting our hands on it. I don't think we have the ability to string as much as Calvin's doing, And that what you're doing up there, Kelvin, or up there is impressive. So kudos. Yeah, we're just looking forward to getting our hands on it as much as we can. And then, like everybody said, I really appreciate you inviting me on this panel to kind of exchange ideas. It's been a really good, really positive experience. So thank you.
Thank you, Dustin. Ricky Hayes, you put together an awesome panel. This was really informative. We know that we're going to see more composite core conductor, ACCC Conductor in the future. And now we've actually heard from linemen that are actually installing it in the field. So thank you, Ricky Hayes. Give us some concluding remarks, if you would, please.
The number one thing I can say is, ACCC has been around 20+ years. So it's been in the industry quite some time. And, I like the fact now that it's catching on, people are starting to adopt that, carbon core conductor is what's going to be here in the future. Our grid just needs the help. And, I'm happy to be part of this venture to, bring our grid up to, present day and future proofing for the loads that to come. So I appreciate you having me and my team here.
Yeah, the loads are coming. So thank you very much to CTC Global for sponsoring today and for Energy Central for putting this together. And very informative as usual, PJ. So great to be here. Thank you very much. Everybody be safe and have a wonderful week and the balance of the year.